in the House, and we're pleased to have him on the program today. Congressman, thank you. Happy Memorial Day to you, sir.
Blessed Memorial Day to you as well. It's good to be with you.
All right. So, look, Georgia is on the front lines of getting the state back opened. They took a lot of heat for it, but like Florida, seems to be going just fine to me, Congressman.
Well, after we got through the initial, what do we do and how do we do it, and got the information out, the people of Georgia responded just like I felt they would, and that is they're handling responsibly. People are going out. They're having meals in restaurants. They're going to the store. They're getting their hair done. They're doing the normal things of life. And I think that's important. People cannot be cooped up forever. We cannot have an authoritarian government saying, you've got to stay in, you've got to do this, and just do everything we say. There has to be the whole aspect approach of the physical and the mental and the spiritual that all have to come together. And that's all about being part of life and not being sidelined from the economic life and the health life that we have right now.
Yeah, you got to walk the halls of Congress, and you've got to see people from New York and New Jersey and California. Do you look them sometimes and say, what are you folks doing there? You're killing your states?
Oh, you look at it and you say, you're the example of what we use to say this is how you're not supposed to be doing. Everybody can be an example, even a bad one. And that's what we're seeing right now in New Jersey, and New York, and Michigan, and Illinois, and other places. You cannot continue to restrict people's freedoms. And I'm proud that the DOJ is actually weighing in, because when it starts infringing on, basic constitutional rights and the ability to get out and do these things, then I think that's a good step by the federal government to be a part of that. But again, the funniest thing I heard in the past couple of weeks when I was back in D.C. on a couple of the votes when Nancy Pelosi has us all locked down was they looked at us and said, I wish I could go get a haircut. It's just been funny. I said, well, tell your governor.
Yeah, I'm sure I was breaking all kinds of laws when I had my hair cutter come to my house to do it for me, because I wasn't having any of it.
Look, don't talk about that.
Yeah, no. Let me tell you something. I went to playgrounds, too, and I was doing pull-ups, and luckily the police didn't come arrest me for that either. All right, so we've got other things going on right now, and Nancy Pelosi appears to be lecturing Mitch McConnell about not going into this whole idea of Obamacare and issuing subpoenas. I want to run a soundbite from Mitch McConnell's response to Nancy Pelosi, and then get your response on the back end.
I'd say to the Speaker, after the impeachment, you're not in a position to be lecturing us about what the appropriate use of Senate time is. The House of Representatives is arguing before the Supreme Court that they're still looking at yet another impeachment.
How do you stop the Nancy Pelosi train, Congressman?
You reelect the Republican House in November. That's exactly how you stop this disaster that is going on. I mean, we've had 18 months of nothing but get it, President Trump. Get it, President Trump. I've been on the forefront of fighting Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Jerry Nadler. I mean, this little cabal that just hates the president with a passion, it seems like, because they can't let it go. And I mean, when you actually have the House Judiciary Democrats saying, well, we may actually still be in impeachment, and the Supreme Court saying, no, they're putting that case off, but we know they're not. The reason here is there's two interesting things. The Senate is now going to look into the actual corruption and problems of the Comey, Strzok, McCabe, and all the way up to President Obama and Biden scandal. And the House simply tried to manufacture stuff from this corrupt cabal. That's the two differences. One is based on actual proof of corruption. The other was just based on a desire to get at a candidate and a president and to disrupt their election this November.
Well, I'm looking at headlines. The problem is they've got the corporate media on their side, the Democrats do. They're running headlines as if this Obamagate idea is an absolute sham. You mentioned President Obama. Think about this. There's a meeting about unmasking Flynn in the Oval Office. This kind of stuff's unheard of.
Oh, it is. And look, let's remind, I know Joe's been in the basement a little while and he's trying to get out, but remember when he was asked about this, he said he knew nothing about the Flynn. Then he was reminded, even by Stephanopoulos, that said, you were in a meeting in which this was discussed. Well, maybe so. And also the fact that he used a unmasking of one of the Flynn conversations. But it goes back to something else, and we need to talk about this. Susan Rice was not, I've now understood what she actually was in the Obama administration. She was the Minister of Disinformation. She was not the National Security Advisor. She would be the one that they would trot out anytime they wanted to go, make misstatements and lies to the press. They sent her out on Benghazi. Now she's taking memos and trying to cover her rear end and Comey's rear end on what actually happened in that meeting and saying they're all doing it by the book. We know from Comey's own words in December they were not doing it by the book. So it's time for the mainstream media to grow up and say, look, we were wrong. We bought into the lies. Schiff told us stuff that wasn't true. We believe the Democratic propaganda talking points, but now it's got to come back and to say, look, we now need to see what's actually truth, because if it can happen to any of them, if it can happen to the president's team and the incoming cabinet, it can happen to anybody, and that's what people need to be scared of.
Yeah, and that's what I've been pushing as well. That's the most frightening part of all of this, that they can weaponize federal agencies against people they simply disagree with politically. It's an outrage. Georgia Congressman Doug Collins, thank you for coming on the program.